Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is a quick video. 'Cause I say quick all the time, but so I'm just going to say this is a video where I'm going to refactor the Vue Mongo Realm application that I built to kind of isolate all of the Realm API calls into a separate composition API. It gets kind of crazy because you can see here inside of login view, inside of home view, everywhere I'm importing Realm Web. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the login function, the logout function, the get current user, basically put all that information to a separate module. So before I go on, let's do the marketing. Please make sure you like and subscribe. This video is a little bit different than what I usually do. I thought let's mix it up instead of the usual kind of Firebase. Let's try another backend. I know I've done Superbase in the past. I've been using Mongo and other projects that was interesting. So let me know if you like this. Let's get to the code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a separate file to kind of hold all of this. So I'm just going to go here into my main source directory. We're going to create a file called realm.state. And we're using TypeScript, so we're going to call it TS. And we're going to put everything inside of here. We're going to go one by one, create all the functions, and then we're going to go back to and integrate them in the application. So first, to get started with all this, we know we need to import Realm. And then let's close this. We don't need this open now. And then we know we have a couple of constants that we need in the application. One of them is the user. We need to know when there is a user in the application and be able to keep track of that user. And so that's what we're going to do here. Let's import this ref. Import ref from Vue. Okay. And that's where we're going to hold the current user. The other thing that we need to do is, of course, we need to get the instance of the application using our app ID. And so that's what we do here with this. You saw this from the previous video. This is how we kind of get the main app instance that we use, that basically everything rides off the top of this. And then the next thing that we want to do is, what will happen is when this app is instantiated, if there's a current user, it will be loaded by the app. And so what we can do here is we can say app current user and then assign it to our user that we will have access to. Okay, so that's the basic setup stuff. Now the next part is we need to create our composition function, and so we will do it like so. We're going to call ours uState, and then of course we need to return some things from the function, and these will be the functions and the properties that we're going to have access to from inside of our overall application. And we've kind of mentioned some of the things that we want to have access to already, so we're going to kind of put them in one by one. We want to know if you're logged in or not, so we can say const is logged in, and we can just make this a computed, and is logged in is going to be true. So basically, if my user.value is not equal to null, I hate sometimes how this thing gets in my way, then I'm logged in. Let's import my computed, and then we're going to return is logged in. The other thing we're going to return here is our user. And also notice, since both of these will be reactive, because you can see this returns a computed ref, and my user already is a ref right here. We'll be able to use these in our templates and everything, and they'll be treated as reactive. Also, when we try to access them inside of other parts of our app, we need to make sure that we put the dot value on the end to get the real value from the ref. So that's being able to keep track of is logged in state or not. So what we can do next is, let's start with where we are now on this login page. So we need to handle our login. So let's do our const. So we have our login application that we need to do, and we're going to just, instead of trying to figure this out all over again, we'll just leverage the code that we've already done inside of login, because we know how this needs to work. And inside of login, let's go back to our login function. You can see here we have this approach where you create your credentials using the email and password, and then you actually attempt to log in. And so we're going to take this first part, and in our login function, and then we're going to pass this in its email and password string, and then we'll just use them here. And that will get our credentials for us. And then, of course, after you get the credentials, you need to actually log in, and we'll go back to our login view and we'll copy that. and then we log in using these credentials, and then we return if successful. But let's do one other thing. Let's make sure that we get the latest custom data from our user, and we'll do that with the same function we used last time, where we call refresh custom data. Let's kind of move this around to get everything in our view. Await, and so that will set it. And then the last thing we want to do down here is we want to set, like we're doing up here, we want to set our user value. And let's set this to any, so it gets moved over correctly as any. App current user is assigned to our user. Why is this not working? Oh, here, we don't need this user assigned here. Mixing that user up with the big user up top there. Okay, I think I can take this off there too. So this will now assign a user from the current app user that was just logged in. And then we need to return this function. So these are properties, and now we are functions. Login. And so that should handle the login. The next one is we need our logout, which we know we have here in our home view. And you can see it's pretty straightforward. We just call a logout off the current app user. So we're going to come into R, and we'll just underneath here quickly do const logout equals, and then here ASSIGN. Here they assign the logged in user, and then here we're going to make sure that we assign the logged out user. Assign that to null, and then let's return true. And so that'll handle the logout. And then the other thing that we do is we create an account. And once again, we're going to just copy the same code from, where is it? It's in our create account. So let's open up create account. And if we go down to create account, let's see what we do. First, you create the user with the email and password. Then you authenticate the user. Then we save the profile. We access Mongo and we write to the profile collection, and we do this insert one to save the user information, and then we go home. So we're going to take all of this code inside this try block, and we're going to copy this into our create account function. We need to change a couple of things here. We need to make sure that we pass in all the variables that we need, and since it's typed, we need to make sure we manage that appropriately. So let's see here, we create here's our user information. So we need our email, our password, our first and our last name. And then all these values we no longer need, so we can take all these out. Remember, we're just moving everything up inside of our Realm State file, so all of this code will just work, because we know it already worked previously. And we're actually going to test it after we get everything all moved over. Say, let's see, now it's just complaining about some things that might be null. So let's handle those. Let's kind of format this so that we can make sure we get everything that we need in here. And did I add? So we have our login, logout, and create account. So now we are returning these two functions, okay? So now let's start to use them in our application. And let's start with the router, because the router controls if we're the kind of logged in, logged out state. So let's go here into router, and let's move this out of the way. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. And we don't need this. And what we're going to do instead is see down here where it's looking at the current user, we're just going to use the is logged in, right? So is logged in, all right, and we should be able to import that from our Realm state. So we're going to say import app state, because that's our function, from, and then apps Realm state. And then down inside of our code here, And so now we get access to our isLoggedIn variable from app state. And we're just going to follow this through the rest of the app. And I think let's just kind of just go through and kind of add all our functions everywhere. Oh, what's going on? Oh, sorry, use app state. Where was that? Was here. So use app state. There we go, use app state with everything returned that we need. All right. So that's the isLoggedIn. Now, what's kind of going on? We want to start digging through this. Let's see. All right. So that's our isLoggedIn. For some reason it thinks we're logged in. Well, let's see. Let's go to our home view now and try to clean this up a bit too. So we are not doing that anymore. I don't think we need to do this anymore either. What we want to do when this component gets mounted, we want to get the current user, which I'm going to try and not do it this way. I think that we can just get the user. We can just get the user directly from our, clear that out, directly from our state. So let's import use app state. Okay, and then what we'll do inside of here, we'll say const, let's do it this way, use app state, and then we want user, and we also need here logout, and here we're just going to call logout, which is our logout function. And then the other thing that we're going to do is we are going to set current user to user, and user we're getting from app state also. All right, and don't know why we keep coming to home. Let's go back to my realm. These guys are references, so I need to actually pull the value. So I get the use app state, so this should be isLoggedIn value, and this should be isLoggedIn value. And let me get this debugger out of here because it's going to become annoying. All right, that's better. So let me make sure I didn't make the same mistake inside of home view. Current user value is null. Current user, this is fine because once this is passed up into the template knows how to unwrap it and get their value from the ref. So that should be okay. So we've just done logout. We've done checking the state. Now let's go do login. And we know that this is gone. And we know that this now is just our new function, login, which just takes email value, password value. Get this out of there. All right, we don't need this. And kind of the same pattern we used from before. We don't need this, but we do need to, we're going to need our use app state. So let's go put that into login. I'll put that right down here. Except all we need is login. And then let's import this. So now we have use app state imported. And then we have our login function, which takes an email and a password, which we're calling right here. And this will throw an exception if there's a problem. Otherwise, it will log me in. And if let's put our await. And if my login is successful, I will switch to the home route. So this looks good. And if it throws an exception, it'll catch an error and it'll be passed on. So this one looks good. And then now, let's check this before we move on to create account. So I think I have this user. Okay, so I logged in, it redirected me, and it showed me the proper user information, so it looks like those functions have all worked. Let's try to reload. So it reloaded, it found the user state and showed it, and let's finally try our logout. And the logout redirected us, and then let's try to get back in, and I couldn't get in. So the last thing now is to refactor this create account. So let's go over to open up our create account, and we'll come in here, and the same process. Let's start taking stuff out that we know we don't need. So all that stuff is gone. Once again, we can remove all of this because we've already put this in our other function. Let's take all this out. And then what we want to do here is we want to, let's go to our home view. We know we need to use our app state, so create account. But in here, let's import this. But here, the only function we need is a create account. And then we're going to put our create account here. And so we say, wait, create account. This is going to be a little bit more complicated. So password is password.value. This one should be email. So email value, password value. And then we need our first and our last. Okay. So we've now passed the function. We're waiting for a response. If everything's good, we'll replace and we'll go to home. Otherwise, it'll just fail. Let's save this. And let's try to create a new account. That's weird. It looks like, so create account, replace and take me to home. Well, let's see if it got the login. It looks like it did not get the first name and the last name. So something didn't. Let's take a look at my code. Email, password, first, last. Let's go into our create account function. Okay. Go down to create account. Email, password, first, last. Email, password, first, last. Okay. Register user, login user, insert first and last. Yeah, this all looks right. I didn't return. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I didn't return true, and I also didn't assign my user appropriately after after the account was created. So I needed to do two things. A, I need to refresh the tokens. So I need to refresh the token to make sure I get the custom data, and then B, I need to return the current. Well, I don't necessarily need to return the current user. Yeah, it would be nice. So let's return the current user. But I definitely need to refresh the custom token. Oh, I know what's going on. I do need to set my current user because my current user is not being set. And so the router redirect is sending me to the wrong place. So let's do this. So after login, where's login? You can see we assign the user value at current user. I need to do the same thing down here. Okay. So let's log out and try one more time. Create account. Last one at mail.com. And there you go. So everything has been done. We have kind of isolated all of our functionality to a separate file. And so now we're ready to move on to the next part of the video. I wanted to kind of separate this refactoring out. So any questions, thoughts, make sure you leave a comment below. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.